Hello everyone and welcome back to Complete Frontend. In this video, I'm going to teach you about how to write comments in JavaScript, the right way to write comments and why comments are important. Don't skip this video. I know this might seem trivial to you, but I can ensure that you're gonna learn some things new that you probably didn't know before. So let's get into it. So what are comments? Comments are those lines of code which JavaScript will not read. Essentially, those lines of code that are just for human beings. So when you write code, don't think it is just for the computer or it's just for the application. When you write code, you should always think that you're writing code in a way that other people in your team also should understand. Not just for other people in the team, just yourself. When you come back and read this code a couple of years or couple of months later, you should probably remember that, right? So that is where comments come into picture. Is comments really important? How much of comment is the right comment to add for a particular code? I will discuss that also in this video. So when you are working in an organization, if you are a person who's already working in an organization, you probably know this. But if you're a student, when you work in an organization, you will be working with many other developers in the team. You might have 5, 10, 15, even sometimes hundreds of developers working on the same project. And then your code is also going to be mixed with other people's code in the same file or in the same project, right? So how you actually express your code? Code is like an art. When you write it cleanly, other people will be better able to understand your code. So adding comments helps with that. So let's first write certain pieces of code. I'm going to say let name is equal to Shrikanth. And then I'm going to say let address is equal to something Bangalore. Okay, that is fine. Now, if I say that I don't need this particular line, then I don't want it to be visible to the computer or the compiler, then what I can do is I can just say two forward slashes. Two forward slashes will comment out that particular line. How do you know the line is commented? This exactly, it will show in this commented out in this green color, in the same light green color, you'll be able to see the line. That means the line of code is commented. Okay. Now let's add a certain small functionality. Let's say sum is equal to just let's say number 1 plus number 2. Okay, so let's say number 1 plus number 2. Okay, cool. Now let's declare number 1 and number 2. I'm going to say number 1 is equal to 10 and number 2 is equal to 20. Now I'm going to say to this sum, let's add sum plus 10, right? So that means at this point it is 30. So I'm going to say it is 40 now. I'm going to add it one more time. So I'm going to say sum plus 20. So now the final output should be 60, correct? So sum is what? Let's clear out the console and then run this file. So now it says sum is equal to 60. What happens if I comment out this line? Will JavaScript read it or not? Let's try to understand quickly. Okay. So to comment out a particular line, you can keep your cursor and then press command and forward slash or control and forward slash. So it's essentially this. To comment out a line, you can press control plus forward slash or command plus forward slash on Mac. Okay, so that is how you comment out. Now, what will be the final output now? That's what we are curious about, right? Will it still be 60? No, it's gonna be 50. As I said, comments are for people. Comments, when a line is commented, JavaScript is not going to read it. JavaScript is going to skip that line from execution. You can see it here, but it will still not be executed. Okay, so when to use comments and how to use comments the right way. So let's understand that now. So when you have a functionality, for example, this is a functionality where you add certain things, right? So I can say add two numbers and print the sum. Can I say like this? So adds two numbers. Okay. And then can I say sum should now have 30, right? All this is technically valid, but it's not the right way to comment. I'll tell you why. When you add a comment next to the line of code, That is considered a bad practice. And adding comments after the code is absolutely the wrong practice. So I'll tell you why this is the case logically, so that you understand the why of the things what I'm explaining as well. When you write comments after the code, say there is 200 lines of code. So when you write comment after that code, the person who's reading your code is probably gonna first try to understand all these 200 lines of code and then gonna say, oh, Shrikanth has even explained how it works. But they might not have the patience to actually go down and find out if a comment is present, right? So comments should always be put before the line of code. A person who is actually reading your code should first find the comments about it, should be able to read your comments and understand what your line of code is doing, and then read the code, because that makes it so much easier for them to understand and digest the code. It's not just for them. As developers, we write code in and out, right? So we write code every day. And what happens is when you keep writing code, after 1 month, you probably don't remember exactly what you wrote in a certain functionality 1 month back. Imagine it's 1 year down the line, how much code you would have written, right? So at this point, you would have forgotten a lot of things that you have written before. So the code is not just for other developers, the code is for you as well. Because when you're working in a project, you will need to visit back to the code that you have written at one point or the other. So it's always a good practice to add some comments about that code, provided that code is not obvious. So in okay, so this kind of code does not require a comment because it's very obvious. You're declaring 2 numbers and adding 2 numbers, right? But for something complicated, say you are writing code for something of an algorithm for DSA, it's a good practice to write it down so that later when you come back, you will understand what your solution is. This is not just for this JavaScript tutorial. If you're a person actually working on DSA as well, this is a very good practice to have. Always keep writing comments before that line of code. Now, what if I have multiple lines of comments? Then what should I do? For example, I have to say something like add 2 numbers, and then I have to say let sum is equal to 0, and then I'm gonna say the result is 30, the result should be 30, something like this, right? So is this a good practice? Not necessarily wrong, but not a great practice either, at least in my opinion. So when there are comments spanning multiple lines, it is a good practice to use multi-line comments. How to multi-line comment? Put 1//, put stars, and automatically it will give you that multi-line comment. Okay. So in VS Code, you will get the multi-line comment. Now anything you add in between this space is commented out. So you can just say something like declare 2 numbers. Okay. And then add those 2 numbers. The sum should result in 30, should be stored in a variable. The sum should be incremented by 20, and then print the sum. So, okay, you get the point, right? So this is a multi-line comment. All this set of comments belong to one particular set of instructions, and it's a good idea to use multi-line comments in such cases. Guys, when I was actually writing comments until I came to Microsoft, I was not really doing this thing the right way. Okay, I was still adding comments, but I was not commenting this right way. These are the right ways to add comments. It was just when a mentor of mine in Microsoft told me 3 years back, hey, this might be a better practice to add comments. So you are getting this at this age itself, right? So good for you. When you write comments, people are going to appreciate it from now. Ensure that you follow this. Try out the multi-line comments and the single line comments. Try some lines where you can comment out and check if it's actually executing or not. What is the wrong way to comment? Are you actually keeping the indentation or not? Try all these things out as small assignments in this section, and I'll see you in the next one. Please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching Complete Frontend.